Howdy folks, welcome to Katie Phillips Scrapbook Designs. I'm Katie, and today we're going to be working on fin number 2 of the Summer Fun album. For this album, we're using the Four Seasons collection from P13. This is the summer pad. And fin number 2 is going to be pages 5, 6, 7, and 8. And page number 5 is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to have a pocket with a flap that comes over the top and a folio that goes inside the pocket. So let's get started with scoring things. And if I miss any of the measurements in the commentary, I'll be sure and put them in the lower thirds down here. So the base page for this album is 7 by, that's not it, sorry. The base page is 7 3/4 by 4 1/4. And we're going to score the 7 3/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. And this is 110-pound cardstock. This is the flap, and it is 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to score the 5 1/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. And 3/4 inch. So this is going to be a gusseted flap. There's also going to be a pocket, and the pocket is 8 1/4 inches wide. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch. And 7 3/4 inches. And it is 4 1/2 inches tall. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch. And I think actually we need to go ahead and trim some of that off. It looks like it's a little bit over 4 1/2 inches. So all right. There we go. And the folio is 6 1/2 inches wide by 8 inches, and we're going to score the 8 inch side at 4 inches. I almost forgot, these are all pocket pages, and the pockets measure 8 1/4 inches wide. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch, and 7 3/4 by 5 inches tall. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Everything on these pages is getting mounted on the pocket. So we need to put the pocket together first. And before I put the pocket together, I want to dry fit the pocket to the page to make sure that it's going to fit, and we want to make sure that it's not going to overlap the score line that we made earlier. Okay, that looks like it's going to be just fine. I'm going to miter these edges at a pretty steep angle here. I sometimes call it a deep miter, and this I'm going to make a shallow miter on this corner. Because we're going to glue the bottom tab to the back of the side tabs. And the reason that we do this is that it helps reduce, doesn't eliminate, but it helps reduce the inserts catching on the bottom tab. Another thing that you can do to eliminate the issue of the inserts catching on the bottom tab is to mount the pocket to a mat and just wrap this bottom tab and the side tabs around the back of the mat. But since I've only got one pad of paper, I'm wanting to conserve pattern paper, so I don't have any mats that are going to go the full depth of the page. We're not going to mount the pocket to the base page just yet. Instead, we're going to go ahead and we're going to assemble this pocket here. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to glue the bottom tab to the back of the side tabs. And I like art glitter glue for this application because you have a lot of control over how much glue you use. You don't want to use a whole lot of glue, otherwise you'll end up gluing the pocket to the tabs, and it dries pretty fast. Next thing I want to do, I want to check the fit of this flap to the pocket, because it's going to be mounting inside and it's just a little bit too wide. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to mark a spot on the flap. I'm going to line one edge just inside the pocket, and I'm going to mark a spot on the flap just inside the other corner of the pocket. And I'm going to grab my cutting tool. I'm going to align that mark up with the blade and trim that off. So that's about probably 3/16 of an inch, maybe a little bit less, which makes I don't have my ruler here, and so by my computer. So I will measure the flap and put the final measurements down here. So I'm going to assemble the pocket and the flap, and I'm going to put you guys on fast forward. made this folio out of 65-pound cardstock. You could do it out of 110-pound cardstock. In fact, if I had 110-pound cardstock, I would probably use that for this folio. However, since I am out of 110-pound cardstock, I use the 65-pound, and I'm going to mat this in a couple of places just to give it a little bit of extra reinforcement. But if you only wanted to do one mat, you could probably get away with that with 110-pound cardstock and still have that good structural support from the extra thickness of the paper. And with this, page number 5 is done. I didn't want to put a whole lot on the outside of page number 5 because it's got this element here. I did go back and add a little bit of extra decoration because this was just too plain for my taste. And there's this piece right here. If we had a whole lot going on the page facing it, they would catch on each other as you're opening and closing the album. So left this pretty blank right here, but there's plenty of room to add photographs underneath. Pages 6 and 7 are going to be a lot like pages 2 and 3. So let's go ahead and get these mats glued down. And just like pages 2 and 3, we're going to use purple washi across the top. So I've already scored pages 6 and 7. It's got the same dimensions as 5 and 6. I'm going to add a line of glue to help secure the washi tape, because glitter washi tape, washi tape just in general, doesn't have great adhesion, but the glitter washi tape for some reason is even worse than most washi. Alright, so we're on to page number 8, and page number 8 is going to have a couple of flaps that close from the left and the right, and those flaps measure 7 1/4 by 4 1/2, and we're going to score the 7 1/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. And this is 65-pound cardstock, but you could totally do this with 110-pound cardstock if you wanted to. And on top of each of those, we're going to have belly bands. And these are 1 inch wide. We're going to score these at 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to manually mark the other score mark. It's probably going to be about 5 inches. But I want to double check the fit before I do that. And underneath, we're going to have a waterfall, and this is a 5-piece waterfall. It measures 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. And we're going to score the 4 3/4 inch side at 1/2 inch. So they're trying to figure out which side is going to get scored. It's going to be the 4 3/4 because it's going to be 4 1/4 by 3 1/4 after it's folded. So I'm going to finish scoring these and burnishing everything, and I'm going to put you guys on fast forward. Well, that was more of an adventure than I expected. So the last thing to do before putting these in the album is to create the inserts for the pockets. And I'll have links to all the materials and supplies in the description box down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. I release new videos every Sunday and Wednesday. And the next video in this series is going to be fin number 3, and that'll be the last video for this album. And these inserts are 7 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and share if you use social media other than YouTube, obviously. YouTube is about the only social media that I do. Alright, so but the last thing to do is to put these in the album. And I just realized that I mounted this upside down, so this is going to be pages 5 and 6, and this is going to be pages 9 and 10. So next week is going to be pages 7 and 8 and 11 and 12.